Okay, we are live for the first time since God, I don't know, Gary. We had 400 subscribers, I think.
It was a long time ago. It was definitely a long time ago. But when you win 2 games that, frankly, I don't think we expected to win, well, we should go live.
We should. We absolutely should. This is one of the most important wins of the year. I feel like I said that yesterday, but when you compile 2 wins like this, especially on the road, a 4:00 game, and just go out there and just deal. Luis Gil, we're going to talk about Gil. We're going to talk about the offense today. We'll talk about our narrative because, I think even every single show, whether they win or lose, I think we're always going to have something to critique. And I think that's what kind of, puts us up there with, some of the best shows that you can watch, because
we're perfectionists. That's for sure.
We're not going to sit here and be like, everything's great. The sun is out, even though it's, dark outside. And it's like, just everything is perfect. Guys are hitting and swinging and pitching. No, like, we're not going to do that. We're going to sit here and we're going to take everything away and be realists of this. And, just want to say thank you guys for watching all of our content. Just every day, I wake up obviously ahead of Gary because I'm 3 hours ahead of him. And I wake up and I'll text him and be like, bro, this actually hit 5,000 views. Be like, what? Like, yeah, it's happened overnight. So we really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. So honestly, you'd probably be waking up in front of me anyway. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, pretty much.
But we got to talk about Luis Gil because I feel like
absolutely
this was an unexpected start from Gil. I know that he dominated essentially the first half of the season. His last 3 starts before this, maybe not his last one, but the 3 before that, he was essentially terrible, right? He gave up 16 runs in 9 innings pitched and pitched his way out of the All-Star game. He had an actual case to be an All-Star this year and actually start that game. So, but having said that, coming into Baltimore, Jake, you were actually saying I would love to sweep Baltimore. We didn't expect to go have any opportunity to go do that, especially the way we've been playing. We've lost 8 series in a row, but now going into tomorrow, we have a chance to sweep Baltimore and take sole possession of first place. Luis Gil started this game, didn't really have the fastball command, but in the first inning, which was crazy to see, he went completely away from that fastball. It went slider, slider. You text me again, Jake. How many sliders am I going to watch? But I thought the scouting report from Yes Network was very important in this game. They talked about the fact that Baltimore sits dead red. The New York Yankees are another team that sits dead red. The only guy on the team, I'd say Juan, Soto, and Aaron Judge, they tend to do damage against anything. But Baltimore, young team, they're hunting fastballs. Luis Gil got the right scouting report in his hand today. There was no talks of tipping pitches. His game plan was to throw breaking ball after breaking ball, situationally throw a fastball, keep them on their toes. They were off balance all day, and it took control of the game early. So, and then, of course, thanks to Austin Wells' 3-run jack. So it was a great game for us and part of the reason why we're live today.
Yeah, I mean, it was about time. We're not going to go live every episode, guys. So just, obviously I know people like the non-live streams, so we're going to stick with that. But we will go live every now and then. And this was definitely a notable win. This could absolutely alter the course of this season. And it says a lot because, I mean, today, Torres went 3 for 4. Judge went 2 for 4. Soto went 2 for 5. Rice went 0 for 4 today. Rice is actually slumping. We're not going to get too much into that. It's still early on in his career. Austin Wells with the 3-run jack. I just thought today, I mean, you're not going to get everybody hitting in the lineup, especially when, I mean, we've talked about the lineup's not that great. DJ LeMahieu's not that great. Grisham's not that great.
Volpe's not really that great right now.
No, he's really struggling right now. And then, of course, you mentioned, I just mentioned Rice. We didn't talk about Verdugo in that slot there, so I'll mention him as well. So we'll get to that later on the show. We'll wrap up with our narrative, okay? Because I think every show we have like a really key, crucial narrative that we want to push. And it's not like, oh, they're creating a narrative. No, like we feel like it has value. So we're going to say it. But let's start, Gil was absolutely fantastic. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, 5 hits, only gave up a run. And let's be honest here. I mean, I'm not going to get too much on Verdugo because, I mean, I had issues with, he was a little lackadaisical to the ball. And you had texted me, we were texting back and forth, and you had texted me, well, they were playing really shallow, and totally understand that. But I thought he could have charged more. You know, they teach you at a young age, when you're playing the outfield, you charge after the ball when you realize it's hit over you. You don't just jog and kind of feel it out. You're going to charge because then hopefully you can get underneath it. And so I felt like the reason why he had to catch that on the run and missed it is because he didn't charge after the baseball. With that said, he's been incredible this year in the field. Batting is another thing. He's hitting 238 right now, leading off. No idea why.
He's a roller coaster, man. You don't know what you're getting out of Alex Verdugo. Part of the reason Boston gave up on him, and obviously, you know, they say they didn't, and Alex Cora was super hard on him, as he said, frankly, this guy doesn't bring it every day. That's essentially the gist of what they were saying over in Boston. And to be quite honest with you, defensively, he's been excellent. But Jake, you can see what Boston was talking about when it comes to effort from Alex Verdugo. Alex Verdugo, when the ball's put on the ground, is not moving. Okay. No. He is not moving over to first base. There is no intent whatsoever. There's no drive to provide effort. And if you care about those type of things, you're going to be very frustrated watching this player. But I will say this. You can fast forward till after the break. The Yankees continue to hang on, because I know some people are wondering if Verdugo is going to be essentially parted ways with, right? Like they might set sail on this whole Verdugo.
I wouldn't be shocked. They have no commitment to him.
No, I mean, there's no commitment.
He's hitting 238.
You've got Spencer Jones in the wings. You've got Dominguez, who obviously will be back at some point this season, hopefully, right? Giancarlo Stanton should be back in the mix here in the next few weeks. So having said this, the Yankees aren't tied to Alex Verdugo long-term, so he needs to show up and play well. Okay, you don't just get to show up to the yard and be a Yankee and expect to be part of the future. This team has to win a World Series. So we're happy to win these first two games, but this team still needs to improve. Like you said, you look at the bottom of the lineup, there's ways that this team can get a lot better. And sometimes to get better, it means removing your name from the mix. And that could be Verdugo. It could be LeMahieu, Grisham. There are plenty of names Gleyber, that we can actually go with.
He was good today.
Yeah. And you know what's, I actually want to talk about Gleyber Torres at bats today, because you were talking about his follow through and all that. And I totally agree. It seemed a little lethargic, but I will say this about Gleyber. In his third at bat today, he accidentally went the other way, right? He goes the other way. It was an absolute accident. But I'll say this about baseball is that sometimes an accident can reveal what you should be doing out there on the baseball field. And that is using the opposite part of the field. And that's something Gleyber Torres, not just last year where he was excellent, but the year prior, he was using all fields. He wasn't trying to hit homers every at bat. He essentially was trying to be an all-around player that was making adjustments at the plate. Right now, Gleyber Torres is either driving the ball or he's doing nothing. And that's not, we're seeing the strikeouts go up. We're seeing the walks go down. It's not working. So I thought today in general should show to Gleyber Torres, this team doesn't need you to be a power hitter. We don't need 24 bombs. We need you to be an overall asset to this organization. Otherwise, there's teams like the Miami Marlins where you can say, okay, Tanner Scott, right? Chisholm. There's these other fits that the Yankees could possibly utilize, but we want these guys to be a part of the future. I don't want to see Gleyber Torres traded. But if you're not going to give this type of effort, because today was excellent. If you can do that, if you can do that, not every day, because if he was doing that every day, we'd be talking about a Hall of Fame player. But let's be real. We need some form of baseline from Gleyber Torres if he wants any sure thing to be part of our team.
No, I agree with you. So let's cut to the chase. You and I both were annoyed seeing LeMahieu in the lineup again. No Vivas. And of course, having Verdugo leading off.
Interesting.
I don't understand the makeup of this lineup. I will point out something I noticed. Did you see the barrage on Twitter with Aaron Judge? Aaron Judge, when he DHs, he's terrible at the plate. Did you see
so they're making the case that when he's in the field, he's better.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Aaron Boone saw that because he played right field today.
Do you really think? I'm actually curious. DV, thank you for being in the chat. Nick, Retro, Tony, we appreciate you guys. Do you actually think, though, that Brian Cashman or Aaron Boone, I would say it's more realistic that Boone actually does look at Twitter. Now, do I think that Aaron Boone scrolls Twitter and says, who am I going to hit leadoff today? Is it going to be Ben Rice? Is it going to be Wells? Right. Or Verdugo. He doesn't just scroll Twitter, but these guys are human beings that are a part of society, right? Like they see this type of stuff the way we do. So it's interesting to see if that had any effect. I'm sure we're never going to get the answer to it.
No.
But what do you think?
Well, I will say the integration of Twitter and Google, it is easy to find tweets when you Google something. I wouldn't be surprised if someone showed it to Aaron Boone. Wouldn't be shocked. Would not be shocked at all. I wouldn't be shocked if Aaron Boone's seen a couple clips of our stuff. I know people, have commented before, like, guys, don't get too highly of yourself. Aaron Boone doesn't watch your show. And like, look, we don't really care either way. We're going to continue doing the show regardless. But there have been some people that have watched our show that are probably a little higher up on the food chain than you would imagine. So, I mean, I'll just leave it at that.
True statement.
I know how this works because I've seen it on the other side covering the Rams. You assume you're in this small little bubble, and then you find out that it's bigger than you could imagine. So I know how this works. It's not my first time
or it's just
around
a
the
smaller
block.
world in general. You don't have to be watched by that many people.
No.
You have a podcast that's watched by 4,500 to 6,000 people a night, the way ours is. Well, one of those 6,000 people might be someone that you really want to get the attention of. And obviously, we're very appreciative of our audience. But there are also some lurkers out there that are actually involved with the organization. Because Jake and I, we're just super fans of this team, and we want to learn this team. We want the team to win a World Series. That's our goal. It's the whole point, right? This
Absolutely.
is an entertainment industry. But all these people in the comment section, like, we're sitting here watching this podcast over sports, but we want it to go a certain way, but they need it to go a certain way. Some of those guys like Aaron Boone and Cashman, they live this. If we don't win, that's their livelihood. That's their life. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see, okay, how do the fans feel, right? How do the diehards feel? I might not make a decision based on what Jake says if I'm the GM of the Yankees, but maybe he has a compelling argument that makes me go a different direction, or at least be more open-minded to something else. Because frankly, I actually didn't see what you were talking about, because you were saying that Aaron Judge is better in the field as opposed to DHing. Were there any numbers to back this, or were they just saying it?
No, there were definitely numbers. Like, it was clear and obvious. The splits were, when he DHs, he's like a 234 hitter. And when he doesn't DH, he's like way over 300. So,
okay.
I mean, it was definitely, and it's a pretty big sample size, because Judge has DH'd quite a bit, especially with Stanton going down. And I'm
Stanton,
not going to sit
even when
here,
he was healthy, Judge was taking some DH spots, like maybe once or twice a week. That was definitely happening.
But I said that he should. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't. But also, I don't know how that correlates. It may just be a coincidence. I don't know. I think, to me, in order for me to really know if Judge is better as a DH or in the field, I'd have to see that over 162 game sample size. I wouldn't be able to extrapolate that. To me, that's something that, like, I think if he got – so say he becomes a full-time DH – he's not a 234 hitter, okay? Like, that's where I kind of have the pushback. It's a small sample size. It's decent, but it's still small, because you can't tell me Aaron Judge, if he was DHing, would be a 234 hitter. You just can't. So,
because that is technically what they're selling. We get the point. He's probably better. He's been better.
He's assimilated into the whole playing 9 innings, being in the field, being in the thick of the game, because – I mean, I'll tell you, just from a perspective of, like, being a DH, or, being somebody that comes in and pinch hits, you don't feel like you're really in the game. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, being a DH is half the battle. And I, it's nothing against Stanton or anybody that's DH full time, but it doesn't feel like you're truly assimilated into the game the way you are when you're out in the field, and then you come in the dugout and you get ready to hit.
It's somewhat of a day off. Wouldn't you consider it, if you're DHing, that perhaps getting an opportunity to DH once a week actually might improve the way you're playing out in the field and offensively?
I think
your
it
other
could.
role. I mean, how could it not, right? Everyone says, Judge needs a day. Soto needs a day. Give Volpe a day. Well, when you DH, the guy's off his feet.
Has Volpe had a day?
It doesn't seem like it.
I mean, I feel like Volpe needs more than a day because he's now looking at hitting 245. This is somebody that at one point we thought was going to creep up to 300.
Does he
probably
still have
settle around 280. Yeah.
Yeah. He still has 6 homers. Anthony Volpe's had 6 homers, what feels like 2 months.
He's got a 665 OPS. I mean,
league average is 700 for those of you wondering. I mean,
yeah,
it's it's been a bad it has been a bad 2.5 month stretch for Anthony Volpe. He hasn't hit for power. His run game is irrelevant because he's not getting on base. Of course, when you have 15 stolen bases, that kind of goes to show you how well he was playing in the first month of the season. But again, Jake, when you hit 205 for your rookie season, you show up in the first month of the year, you're dominant. And then the next 2 months of the year, you're irrelevant. Well, for more times than not, you are irrelevant offensively. So I have to cover you as though of what you're doing, not what you can do, but what you give me. And right now, Anthony Volpe in 400, that's insane to say, 400 at bats, is hitting 245. His on base percentage is 300. So anyone who thought Anthony Volpe would take the baseball world by storm, stealing bags, potentially stealing 40 or 50 bases, anyone who thought that was going to happen, you don't do that with an on base of 300. That just is not a winning formula. It's just not working.
Yeah. And Anthony Volpe, I mean, he needs to get it together, obviously, but there's always going to be a narrative there, whether it's fair or not. To me, I think it's absolutely fair. Anthony Volpe was a first round pick in 2019. He was drafted 30th overall by the Yankees out of Del Barton School in New Jersey. So he's a prep kid, right? So was Gunnar Henderson. Okay. John T. Morgan Academy was drafted 42nd overall in the second round. So the Yankees passed on Gunnar Henderson to draft Anthony Volpe 12 spots ahead of him. Not only that,
sledding for us.
The Yankees had a competitive balance pick, and they actually took TJ Sycamore at 38th overall out of Mizzou. Now,
who?
I'm not going to sit here and act like I saw Gunnar Henderson coming. I didn't even really follow this draft for whatever reason. I just never got into it. So when they got Volpe, I was like, oh, okay, and then I followed him in the minors and I was like, yeah, Volpe, like this guy looks really good. But that matters, and that could come back to haunt the Yankees. So the hope is that Volpe is kind of a later bloomer than, say, Gunnar Henderson, and he can get things together. But as of right now, and I want to, pivot over to our narrative that we were really excited to talk about, at least I was. The bat to ball narrative, okay? There's a reason why we're talking about Anthony Volpe. And look, we'll get back to how great this win is and everything, but we really have to touch on this. Anthony Volpe, okay, is hitting 245, like we just said, 6 homers, 32 ribbies, bangs, 665 OPS, okay? So at least from my perspective, and I know a lot of people felt this way, the biggest issue with the New York Yankees has been all or nothing. Okay. That's been their approach. That's been the way they make their roster. Josh Donaldson's of the world, because you're like, Josh Donaldson can hit 30 home runs. He's a former MVP in his own right. He's either going to strike out or hit a home run, right? You heard that all the time. Strikeout or home run. Well, guess what this team is? It's not strikeout or home run. And I hear that even still, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. Who is strikeout or home run? You can't say Judge is, because Judge hits doubles. Judge gets on base with walks. Judge walked like 8 times in this series already. Okay.
Probably like Grisham. Isn't that like probably the only guy?
The only guy who is home run or strikeout is Trent Grisham. That's it.
Right.
Verdugo is not. Torres is not. Wells isn't. Ben Rice isn't. Anthony Volpe, DJ LeMahieu can't even hit a home run. So no, it's not home run or strikeout. So the reason I bring this up is, this is really fascinating because, Gary, they've had a lot of these slumps before, and we have kind of just assumed, and I think it was fair to assume, that it was because you get a bunch of guys that come up to the plate and are just trying to hit the long ball, and it's either a home run or strikeout. all those guys that are vying for the home run every time are likely to slump at the same time because they're all vying for one thing.
Makes sense.
But now, before the All-Star break, we see Verdugo hitting 238. Why'd they get Verdugo? Bat to ball. The contact guy. Put it in play. He's hitting 238. And it's not like he has a ton of home runs either. Not a bad home run total, but not a ton. Ben Rice is hitting 230. I'm going to ignore Ben Rice. He's very new to the lineup and everything, and he's been great up until.
But it's not like
recent.
Gary Sanchez, Luke Voigt. You're not seeing that style of play, which is so crazy that you're bringing this up, because I think what a lot of people are saying, and you know this, when they say strikeout or home run, and we're watching all the same guys struggle all at once, right? You see really good pitching, and all the guys that you watch hit 40 bombs in the regular season, suddenly they're not hitting homers anymore. They slump more easily than anybody else on the field. And it seems like in the postseason, contact players and guys who have the ability to grind out at bats, at least giving that look, maybe a few players on your roster, is a nice addition to the team. But what's funny about that is that it doesn't really matter if you put the ball in play all the time if it's weak. If you hit the ball weakly, it doesn't work, which is why on this show, and we've said, Jake, we've talked about this, we're not overblown into analytics, okay? We just aren't. We will every now and again, we will talk about it. And if you actually go to Baseball Savant, and I think Baseball Savant's a really good page for people because some of the numbers are just nonsense and other numbers really matter. And if you go to Anthony Volpe's Baseball Savant page, you wouldn't say that this is an unlucky player. Earlier in the year, when you were evaluating, Jake, Austin Wells, and you said, so what's to make of our catcher's room? We've got Trevino, who frankly is kind of tapering off, but Austin Wells, his numbers aren't very good either. But we were able to use our eye test and say, well, it seems like he's hitting the ball really hard, but also numbers like this in Baseball Savant, where you'd say, oh, he was supposed to hit around here, batting average wise. He was hitting the ball this hard, right? There's a measurement of how hard he was hitting the ball, right? So having said this, you need to be able to drive the ball. If you're going to be a guy who strikes out, is what we're saying, you need to be able to hit the ball in the seats. If you're going to put the ball in play all the time, you better be hitting for a batting average that's respectable. You can't hit 236. Absolutely. If you hit 236 and I see that you've got 6 homers at the break, you're useless. You don't have any use on the team. That's not a championship player. Goodbye,
darling.
Yeah, you're not worth it.
No.
You're just not. And this is what people want me to sell, is that Anthony Volpe is just in a sophomore year. They describe it as a really good rookie season. He hit 205. I try to remind people that. He hit 205. There's no such thing as a good offensive season where you hit 205. Okay? No. There's somewhere in the middle between 300 and 220 that needs to be accomplished, where you say that player hit 20 homers at that batting average. There's got to be a number there, a middle ground. And right now, Volpe is on pace to hit like 11 homers, 11, and hit 236. That's not only is it not worthy of hitting leadoff, it's not at all going to accomplish the goals of what the Yankees need in the short term, because that's the position we're in. We're in a position where winning today was amazing. Best thing that happened, honestly, in the last month of Yankees baseball, and it wasn't close, Jake.
Oh, yeah.
But to get to October baseball, do you expect to see Anthony Volpe? Does he have any opportunity to go out there and be like, oh, he was the player of the series? No. There's no opportunity whatsoever for him to do that. And to be honest with you, Jake, considering how much we pampered this prospect, I know it's early. It's year 1 and 2. He's got to show more than this. There had to have been more than this.
There's nothing wrong with that statement.
What needs to be seen.
No one should be upset with you at that statement. You know why? Because I took a screenshot. I had the giant TV, and Yes Network showed the lowest OPS since June 15th in the MLB, and it was a minimum of 75 plate appearances. I took that screenshot. Michael Garcia has the lowest at 443 for the Kansas City Royals. After that, Second lowest, Alex Verdugo, 461. He struck out after this, so he's now lower than 461. Anthony Volpe, 462. And then Dalton Varsho at 464 and Joe Adell at 485 would be a really nice buy low, pick up there at the deadline there, Joe Adell. But my point here is that you have two guys in the top 5 lowest OPS. And miraculously, right around June 15th, Gary, was when the Yankees had the wagon and the wheels and everything just completely fall off. And it makes you wonder, So you're telling me your 5th or 6th, hitter there, has a 461 OPS. By the way, OPS should not ever be 461. OPS stands for on base plus slugging. How is
the math
it
of that is not even, it's not possible.
So,
no, and I do think
that
we
happened,
can admit,
and then your leadoff hitter. So your leadoff hitter has a 462 OPS. Now, keep in mind, a lot of this, the slugging, is based on hitting home runs, right? So if you hit a lot of home runs, you're in good shape. Like Austin Wells continues to hit the ball out of the yard now. So his slugging is getting up there to the point where now he's around a 700 OPS, despite the fact he's not really hitting a ton for average. But Volpe, if you're not going to hit the home runs and you're not going to have the average, to your point, like he's a 7th, 8th, 9th hitter, and that's not a top prospect. That's not, the next, passing of the torch from Derek Jeter. To be honest with you, right now, Volpe is a disappointment. And we're talking about this because we're realists on this show and we could be excited for a win. We can talk about the good, but there's always going to be things that you could talk about. And we're very well versed in the idea that baseball, 162 games, there's going to be slumps. But this isn't like Judge had a slump and we touched on it. Oh, he's in a slump. He'll get out of it. And sure enough, as soon as this thing started, Judge, walk, home run. Okay. Like that's been his entire, 2-game stretch now against the Orioles. He's out of his slump. Oh, you have Juan Soto. He's in a slump. Well, I'm not about to trash Juan Soto, who's been holding up this team. And sure enough, by the way, this was an old school Yankees win. They won with power today. They won with power pitching and they won with power hitting. And there's 3 home runs in the game. And without those 3 home runs, who knows what the game ends up being.
We needed our starting pitching to go back to what we were expecting, because when Luis Gil was doing what he was doing, which essentially was being the ace of the American League, he was the best pitcher in the AL. Essentially, him and Skubal were the 2 best pitchers in the game. Yeah, right? And absolutely. Now, did I expect to see this version of Luis Gil all year? No, not really. I really didn't. I thought we were going to get a Severino-esque first half of the season. And then after that, somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere between an ace and a 3. That's what I expected out of Luis Gil. And that's what we're getting right now. His last 2 starts, he's been excellent. And to be honest with you, based on what Garrett Cole and Luis Gil just gave us, we have reason to be excited about the rotation again. Now, of course, we can slightly pump the brakes because Carlos Rodon has regressed.
Did you see my smirk? I just brought up the game for tomorrow to preview.
Yeah. Let's preview the game tomorrow.
Moment,
whole lot of momentum.
Like, wait a minute. So did you see the Yes Network graphic, by the way? I thought it was genius. I've been waiting to see this actual graphic. So since Garrett Cole came back, I didn't get a screenshot of it, but it's in my head because I can't unsee it. Carlos Rodon has an 11 ERA since Garrett Cole came back. So look, I'm hoping Rodon figures it out at some point. I think he will. I do think you are out of your gourd if you're going to tell me that, Garrett Cole coming back didn't have anything to do with the struggling of the other pitchers. Because to me, they had to change around and move around the rotation. This is literally why I suggested a 6-man rotation. And the problem is they wanted to make Cole their ace right off the board, right? So they made him the ace, which basically threw everyone all over the place. We talked about Gil getting an extra day, Rodon getting. Sure enough, those guys just have not been the same. Gil's coming back. Rodon, I mean, he was fragile as of last year. So I wouldn't have touched anything when it came to Rodon.
He
If
was
he's
off
pitching
schedule
well,
last year. I think
oh
that's the
my
best way to
God.
describe Rodon. He
Yeah.
was hurt in spring training. People said, yeah, he'll be ready soon. He'll be ready soon. He got out there on the field, didn't look good. And then we all just kind of sat around and put our hands in our pockets, said, well, he'll be fine. We signed him to a $160 some million deal. He'll be fine at some point. And he was never fine at any point. So the season, as it went on, we came into this year. Rodon shows up to camp early, right? Props to him and also his family, because he has to decide to leave home and get to camp early, right? So this is a job. He shows up, was excellent to start the season, to which we predicted would happen. But the second Garrett Cole came back, they brought him back on a pitch count, rushed him back, essentially, is what I described it. And they moved Rodon's starts back. They moved Luis Gil. They moved his start back. They moved everybody back a day, and it didn't work. Okay. Now, of course, would you rather have Garrett Cole, the version that you're seeing right now? Yes, of course. You don't know how it's going to play out. But I feel like when you affect 3 or 4 guys in your rotation negatively, that is it necessarily as good to make sure your ace is in peak position? Because based on what the Yankees were getting from the rotation in the first half, that was more dominant than anything we saw out of Garrett Cole or as one player in general. So hopefully Carlos Rodon can, and I don't want to make too many excuses for the guy either. No. You got to be able to, you got to be able to hit the ground running too. If they move you back a day, you think we're going to get to the postseason and everything's going to be on schedule? Everyone's start is going to happen exactly when they anticipated. You got to be ready to play baseball. And Carlos Rodon hasn't been really a meaningful baseball player for the New York Yankees in now what is like 4 or 5 weeks running. So it's been a while. We need a big start from him tomorrow, because if we get that, it's a ton of momentum for this team. We take sole possession of first place. The Baltimore Orioles are going to look at it and say, our starting rotation struggling. They're kind of getting banged up. Our offense is hitting, but they're going into the deadline, likely buyers as the New York Yankees, right? They've got Garrett Cole going, Luis Gil's going, and now Nestor Cortez and Rodon have it going. Maybe we're not going to be in the position at the end of the year that we thought we would be in. So this game tomorrow is important. It's absolutely important to send a message to this team. And as you said, Jake, if we win this game tomorrow, it sets us up in a position where we actually can go win the tiebreaker. So you don't have to just completely outrun Baltimore.
Yeah, and I know that's hard to believe for people, but I have it right here in front of me. Baltimore leads this series 5-4.
Yep.
So after all this, Baltimore's been dog walking the Yankees. Well, now it's 5-4. Okay. If the Yankees win tomorrow, this series is tied. And the season series, there's only one more series. And guess what? That series is going to be in the Bronx in September, late September. Man, talk about a playoff atmosphere. That could be huge. I mean, we could be talking about 2 94-win teams going at it to try and essentially win the division right then and there. So that's where we're at, Gary. This is absolutely vital. It's on Roku tomorrow, whatever that means. I know what a Roku TV is, but like, is it the Roku channel? I mean,
wait, huh? The game's on Roku?
Yeah.
They might as well just put it on, what is it, Tubi? What a joke.
Just put it on
Stop
Temu.
with all these streaming platforms. I'll speak for our audience, because, okay, I'll speak for everybody in the comment section right now. We don't want any game that the Yankees play to be on any streaming platform at all. No. I don't want any of it. Just allow me to go on the MLB app, buy the package, and then once I've bought the package, get the hell out of the way.
Oh, yeah. The Yes Network app's terrible, by the way. I love Yes. Love Yes. Love the booth. I actually prefer the Amazon Prime. I prefer the Amazon Prime, broadcast, because it's Yes Network and I don't get kicked out of my app. Nothing like paying $25 a month for the Yes app and get kicked out of it.
How does it grow the game in any way?
I don't know.
At what point? How does it grow the game? That's a great
point. That's a great point. If you notice, like for instance, why the NHL is starting to grow. right? The NHL is getting, because they're now readily available. They made their package so easy, right? It was like all over. I mean, don't get me wrong. The broadcasts aren't great. I mean, the quality of the broadcasts are not great, but ESPN Plus has like all the games now, something like that. So I agree with you. I do think for a game that I think needs to continue to grow, they could do a better job. Yeah, a game should never be on Roku. I don't know what the hell we're doing. But then again, the game's on at 11:35, so I still don't know what the hell we're doing. I really don't understand that. How you could put a game on at 11:35 Eastern time. It's going to be 8:35 Gary's time. Gary will wake up, the game will be over.
That's not going to be a live show. So just if you thought tomorrow was a live show, it is not.
No.
I will be waking up in the 4th inning.
No. You'll be waking up and Clay Holmes will be on the mound to try to close out the game.
I don't want to see Clay Holmes tomorrow. I know you guys might feel really good about All-Star Clay Holmes. I don't.
No.
I don't feel the same way. I just don't. I want to see the Yankees go out there tomorrow, hit. Go out there and hit. I need to see I need to see a repeat performance out of Gleyber Torres. We've seen Gleyber Torres be dismal for 2 months. Then we saw him for about a 10, 12-day stretch where we're like, oh, maybe he's going to swing his way back into the short-term plans, right? Not into an extension, but we'll have him out there for an October run. And then all of a sudden, Gleyber Torres goes ice cold again. So we had a big performance, 3 for 4 today. I need something again tomorrow, right? I need something out of Anthony Volpe. I can't have ground ball city. DJ LeMahieu shouldn't be a part of the lineup tomorrow. I don't care what anybody says. He shouldn't be anything.
Do you think Vivas plays?
No, I think he should have a 3rd day off as a well-playing prospect. Really think about that, guys. That's what the Yankees are doing. They said, you know what? Vivas is just playing phenomenal baseball. You know the best thing we could do? Call him up and, he's on the 40-man. Go ahead and call him up. Beautiful decision. Let's give him 2 days off in a row.
They should call Spencer Jones to not play him tomorrow. My God.
So you really think that a young player is playing well in the minor leagues, and the best thing to do for his development is to call him up to the big leagues, sit him down for 2 days in a row in a game like baseball where guys need to get into rhythms, and then throw him in there on a random Sunday morning game? That's not the best thing you can do to drive up someone's value. If your plan is to trade the guy or play the guy, neither looks good, because it seems like they're setting him up to just go out there and look like, a different version of DJ LeMahieu, and then just send him down to the minor leagues and then trade him for a reliever later on. We don't need to do that. Just put him in the best position possible. I thought the best position was 2 days ago when I saw DJ LeMahieu leading off. That should have been, maybe Bebos didn't lead off, but he should have been playing. He should have been hitting 8th or 9th. Don't put any pressure on the kid. He's just got here, and put somebody else up there with somewhat of a pedigree like Austin Wells. Who knows? Put him up there at leadoff, give him an opportunity, and then make a trade. Yeah, make a trade. We don't have a good leadoff hitter. Has anyone really thought about that? That maybe when you look at Alex Verdugo and you say, well, he's not the best option we could have done at leadoff. His ops is under league average. And I would agree with that. And you could also make the argument that there is a better option on this team, and it is Austin Wells. But also, Jake, isn't it also true that
they don't have
Austin Wells shouldn't be hitting leadoff for an October? For a team that wins the World Series, should Austin Wells be hitting leadoff for that team? Probably not. So
I agree.
He should be hitting 5th, 6th, or 7th and be a highly productive player in that position. But the Yankees haven't made enough moves to put these players in the right spots. So in the meantime, you've got to put your best option at leadoff. And I thought that was Austin Wells. And then when you head up to the deadline, maybe you go get Chisholm. Maybe you go get India. I know India got pulled today. You brought that up due to injury. But there are some moves that the Yankees can make where you're like, okay, this is acceptable. This guy gets on base, because that's literally, Jake, that's the job. Get on base for Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. Just be over there. We want you to be able to run, but frankly, if we had Kyle Schwarber leading off for this team, would you be panicking when his on-base percentage was 400 and he struck out 175 times? Jake, would we really care about that?
Schwarber's batting average looks bad, but on-base percentage is the only thing that matters at the end of the day when you're a leadoff hitter. How can you get on base? And on-base percentage is important as a leadoff hitter, but when you have next up Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, your entire job is to just get on base. That's all you're trying to do. I don't need you to hit a solo home run. I mean, that's great. I'm not going to, be like, oh, I'm mad at you for hitting a home run. But the entire point is to put Judge and Soto in RBI situations. That's the entire point. You put your best hitters up there with guys on base. And in
should we post this on Indeed? Looking for a leadoff hitter like on Indeed for the Yankees, and be like, your on base needs to be at least 380. We don't give a shit if you can run it all.
We can use my LinkedIn profile they always bully me for.
Oh yeah, I do.
It's not even my LinkedIn, like my photo or whatever. Me in a suit. For those of you who are like, what is he talking about? The Yankees tomorrow play for the last time until Friday, July 19th against the Rays. Does anyone get tired of playing the Rays? They're just kind of that team that's kind of there, and they're annoying because they win. Like they don't have a great lineup, but they're give the Yankees problems. Oh, Gary, you're not going to like this. Pretty much every game in that 4-game set is in the afternoon. Friday,
that'll be good for ratings.
Friday is 7:05, Saturday is 1:05, Sunday is 1:35, and then Monday, this is wild. Monday is 1:05.
They should just play the game at like 6 a.m. Eastern time. Just call it a doorbuster game, and just let the Yankees just go out there and do cardio.
Black Friday.
Yeah, Black Friday doorbuster sale. The Yankees will be playing the Rays. They're not going to win the game because they never beat them.
Yeah, baseball doesn't get played in November normally unless, that one time. But we're actually going to have a specific game in the regular season that takes place in November on Black Friday.
We're going to play this baseball game in the lobby of a Target. That's what they should do.
Oh, my God. Well, people would watch that. I mean, people watch the Field of Dreams game, so you have that. So, yeah.
Now looking back at it, I thought that game was so stupid.
It was. I mean, the White Sox won, and actually, it's really funny. I saw a video where since the White Sox won that game, they have gone completely downhill. Like the moment they won that, they just completely went off a cliff.
Tim Anderson, I think he went off a cliff after that.
Yeah, Tim Anderson, the White Sox left their soul at the Field of Dreams.
It's somewhere in the cornfields out there. You should just go looking for it.
They're still looking forward to this day. But, speaking of the White Sox, they could be sellers at the deadline. We're getting close. July 31st, of course. Tons of coverage on this channel for that. Tons of it. So we'll see. I mean, my prediction, my gut feeling right now is I think they're going to get Chisholm. I think they're going to get Tanner Scott. And I think they're going to get Edward Cabrera. And they're going to give up some prospects. I think the headline of that package is going to be Gleyber and Pereira because the Marlins are obsessed with Gleyber Torres. They have been for 4 years now. But I think Chisholm is going to be a Yankee, and I think he's going to be the leadoff hitter. And that's how I feel. And actually, to wrap this thing up, we saw the tweet came up earlier today. Skip Schumacher, who, God, I feel so old. He's the manager of the Marlins. I remember when he was playing. Wasn't it like yesterday? Skip Schumacher, who is the manager of the Marlins, basically came out and said they're going to play a player in Jazz Chisholm who has not played second base in 2 years. They're going to play him at second base now, even though he's predominantly a center fielder who leads off and a DH. So I thought that was hilarious because it's like, tell me, you're doing this without telling me you're doing this. And the Yankees, it already came out. Heyman said it. They have had internal discussions. They've had external discussions about bringing Jazz Chisholm, not as a center fielder, as a second baseman. So all of a sudden, he's playing second base after 2 years. Man, I can't connect the dots on that one, Gary. And I'm sure everyone in the majors right now, everyone that's going to trade for him or wants to trade for him is thinking, that center fielder who's probably a top 10 center fielder right now, I'm going to move him to second base. No, it's really just the Yankees that would be doing that based on the situation they're in. So
they don't have to hide it either. I mean, for what reason?
Yeah, exactly.
They're showcasing an asset. The better he looks this next week and a half to 2 weeks, Well, the more they're going to get from the Yankees. And the Yankees are in a position where people
Absolutely.
might think, oh, if the Marlins are going to try and finesse us and we don't have to make a trade. Yes, they do. Yes, the Yankees have to make a trade. The Yankees are in a position right now where their 5-9 is below league average statistically. So there's no opinion here. The numbers suggest 5-9, we're not getting it done. So if you think the Yankees don't have to shore up leadoff, the Yankees don't need any production at shortstop, the Yankees don't need any improvement at third or second base, you're not winning a World Series without improvements at each of those positions, not just one or two of them. So the Yankees do, in fact, have to make a trade, whether it be Chisholm or whoever else you want to fill in the blank. So I think it's fair for the Marlins to just do this whole tryout thing and see what happens with the Chisholm market, because they, according to Bob Nightingale, and he'll actually be on our show later this month, I guess we're revealing that now, and we're going to ask him about Jazz Chisholm and the whole locker room thing, because Nightingale's reported that Chisholm is not necessarily loved in that locker room. Now, I'm sure some of it is slightly overstated, but a really liked guy in the locker room, they don't really have reporters writing articles that they're hated or just completely disliked or they're chastised. It doesn't usually happen that way unless it's like a better player like Barry Bonds.
Yeah,
but
Reggie Jackson.
But we're not. Yeah. But we're in a situation. It's an interesting topic, because do you bring in a player that's considered a clubhouse cancer? I highly doubt he's that, but I would love to see and see what Bob has to say about it, because I know he's got something to say.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm very excited for this deadline. They have to make a move. I think, you have to choose one side or the other. You cannot sit in limbo and be like, yeah, we're just going to just exist. Like, it doesn't work that way. They were not about to have a deadline. I mean, I guess the deadline isn't over, so they absolutely could. But they're not going to have a deadline where they go out and get, what's the guy's name? The guy they got from the White Sox that one year. The only thing they did, they got that reliever from the White Sox, Keenan Middleton.
Oh my gosh. You don't think today, by the way, winning these two games, this series, makes the Yankees feel like, oh, we're just better than this team? Like, we actually will just go beat them?
This was my point, though, is that I totally hear what you're saying. But if you're a GM, you see this and you're like, okay, we need another piece or two. Now I feel justified because we just went into, we went into the Orioles ballpark. Okay. And we went to a team that has given us problems and we just beat them twice. If they sweep them tomorrow, regardless if they do or not, they won the series. If they, regardless of that, he's thinking this is probably going to be an ALCS matchup.
You have to imagine, if best case scenario for us, we do see them in the ALCS. And also, DV, to answer your question about Jazz Chisholm, because I see in the comment section asking about him being voted, because Jake, this did happen. He was voted the most overrated player in Major League Baseball. And by the way, this wasn't
the
close.
Most overrated player on this show. And I want him.
I would probably say that was true based on what they talked about. They put him on the show cover, right? Like, kids were like, who's this player? As if you needed to go look him up and he would have like outstanding numbers or he took the minor leagues by storm. No, he did none of those things. Okay. It was just, we just talked about him because I would say he was flashy, but also, Jake, his skill set is something the Yankees could really use. Defensive versatility, can play center field when you need him. They're going to show these next 2 weeks he can play second base at a high level. He can do those things.
DP and I are in the same boat. I want him regardless. I said the same thing. I said it on
You can be overrated and be valuable at the same time.
I want him. Well, exactly. Overrated doesn't mean bad. I think way too often in today's world of sports media and hot takes, overrated is a big buzzword that gets clicks, gets people mad, gets people happy. I don't know. Either one.
You know who won this vote 3 years ago?
Bad.
Do you know who won most overrated player 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago? Do you know who that was? Bryce Harper. This is going to be a player he will be, and I'm saying it's pretty good,
right?
He will be a Hall of Famer. Yes, well, we're excellent. We're excellent at what we do.
It's funny. Bryce Harper I remember the purists, the baseball purists getting mad at him for being Johnny Hustle. Do you remember that? They didn't like the way he was hustling.
Well, who's considered a purist? Like, what camp is that?
It's like the older fans that are very picky about certain things. And it's not all the older fans, But you have the older fans that, like, for instance, I do not agree with the idea that human error is part of the game. It is part of the game. It doesn't have to be. Like, it's not like this is the Declaration of Independence and this needs to be in this document. No, it doesn't need to be in there, right? Like, you don't need human error to be in baseball. You don't.
It's the same with football. If we can put like a GPS tracker in the tip of each part of the football and you're like, okay, he's down right there. Now the tip of the football was here. You think I want some jabroni referee just saying,
I was waiting for it.
It looked like he was, and then they walk backwards like 3 feet and they go, he was here. What a stupid thing. I don't need that. That part of the game doesn't have to be there in the sport. So
the spring leagues have tried that, by the way. They've put a chip in the ball, and you know what it did?
What did it do?
Made the ball fishtail. I have a story for you.
That's pretty funny.
It's hilarious. They've failed miserably to do that because you think
A for effort.
The ball would be like this. No, they want the chip to be like this big. So I don't know what they're doing, but
what they think it weighs something. I could have told you that, and I hardly passed math in high school and college. I could have told you if you put a device the size of a freaking pack of AirPod charging case inside each end of the ball, it's going to change the ball. That's what it's going to be. I mean, isn't that insane that people actually got into the design team and were like, oh yeah, it turns out that's not working. It's like,
I know you got paid all that money to just be like, yeah, you know what? I came up with the perfect chip and it's as big as your head. But no, all jokes aside though, like, you know, the purists essentially, they think that's part of the game. They think the DH doesn't exist. It should never exist, especially in the NL. And those purists, and not all of them, but a lot of them would get on Bryce Harper because they thought he was a punk. But like, you can't have it both ways. You're complaining about what's his face? Oh my God, Machado, coming out and saying he's not a Johnny Hustle. But then you're screaming at Bryce Harper for being a Johnny Hustle.
Then they're screaming that they love Albert Bell and his toughness. Oh, you didn't want to mess with Bell. He would put his hands on you. Oh, look at all these guys in the 80s and 90s, the Mean Machine, the Red Machine, and all this hustle. Everyone's diving all over the field, and they love that. You love all the fighting. You love all the punches thrown. Everyone getting thrown at, and then all of a sudden you see someone flip a bat and it's out of control.
Bryce Harper, I don't know what else to say to you. Bryce Harper is like the modern day George Brett, and that was his idol, by the way.
I mean, I think George Brett was. I mean, I get what you're saying. He's like, they're not the same player, of course. No. But I mean, I get it. But the way that things are, I mean, I'll say it this way: Dennis Rodman. This is the best comparison I can possibly make for you. Dennis Rodman was seen as a tough player by most old heads in the 1990s in the NBA. He was seen that way. He didn't score at all. If you threw him the ball, he wasn't even looking at the basket because, frankly, it wasn't part of his skill set. He was there to rebound, foul the shit out of somebody, and be there when Michael Jordan needs someone to stand up for him. That was his only job. Then Draymond Green does it for Steph Curry, and they're like, what a punk. Get him off the court. He has no skill set. He can't dribble. He can't shoot. He can't do any fadeaways like Jordan or LeBron or Kobe. They just talk about all that stuff. So I say all that to say this. A lot of what's loved about old school baseball, you bring that same mentality and flavor into today's game, and those same people will be like, I don't want it. They reject it. So I love everything Bryce Harper stands for. I hoped he was going to become a member of the Yankees. Didn't happen because the Yankees, they committed to Aaron Hicks and Brett Gardner, and I love Gardy.
Let's not get into Aaron Hicks. We're about to finish the show. We don't want a 20-minute rant about why we shouldn't.
That's true. We just won two games in a row against Baltimore. We're not going to talk Aaron Hicks.
No Hicks. No. I almost said Votto. I almost always say Votto. I don't know why. He never played for the Yankees. Gallo.
And no DJ LeMahieu. No talks of him either.
I mean, DJ LeMahieu contributed to society, at least. I mean,
when?
Well, he was a two-time, I think he was a runner-up MVP, and then he was in the top 5 one of the years with the Yankees. So
time for us to close the yearbook on that guy.
No, I get that. I mean, trust me, he's fallen off. But you have a guy like Gallo or Hicks. you know what Hicks is remembered for? Not his 24 home runs that got him a ridiculous 7-year, $70 million deal that he never deserved.
Was it his golf?
No, it's the one that you don't even you didn't even ever see. So I have to send it to you. He's just staring down at the ball, like depressed, and it's a fair ball because he thought it was foul.
Please find this for me.
I you know what, chat, we're gonna wrap up here, but I gotta show Gary. Aaron Hicks, foul ball. Oh yeah, Boone benched him afterwards. He I can't believe you've never seen this. This was at the stadium. This was not on the road. This was at Yankee Stadium. I don't think anybody's been booed more.
Oh, you're talking about when he was in the field. Yes, I've seen this play. He just looks like a complete idiot. It says the title of the video says Aaron Hicks had a really bad inning.
It's the worst thing.
The video below it, Aaron Hicks being awful for 3 minutes.
It's really the worst thing you'll ever see. There's no other way to put it. I know he's not on the Yankees anymore, but oh man, that made me so mad. It was so bad. But anyway,
that was Juan Franco who hit that ball, by the way.
Was it really?
Yeah.
There's so much wrong about that whole play.
So the whole play was just a disaster.
The whole play is a PR nightmare. Oh man. It's funny because he got benched and Reggie Jackson got benched. And I mean, it makes you wonder, what would Billy Martin have done?
Billy Martin might have ran out there and punched him.
Billy Martin would have gotten out there and would have literally given him the hook. But yeah, guys, we appreciate you tuning in, even after the fact, if you tune in after the fact, but especially people that tune in live. Because the last time we did this, I think the max we got was 10. At one point, this was over 50 live viewers. So it's a sign that, obviously, keep in mind, we didn't announce this. We just dropped it. So we weren't expecting to get a ton of people. But to do that, we really appreciate you guys. And we wanted to get this out as soon as possible. So we said, you know what? Instead of waiting an hour and a half or 2 hours for it to process and, do all whatever YouTube does and everything, we'll just do a live stream. The people that watch the full thing, great. The people that don't, they can watch it afterwards and it'll be out like right away. Because we have an 11:35 a.m. game tomorrow that we, this will eventually get really stale because the game will start. So we want to get this out as soon as possible. So we'll see
everybody tomorrow morning for breakfast to watch the Yankees and Orioles.
Yes. Gary,
bring your omelets.
Gary's gonna show up. He's got like a whole thing of bacon in his hands, like barely awake.
Yeah, and I'll have to figure out my sign in for Temu or wherever I'm going. Roku. There you go.
Oh, DV called me out for that. It's like, put on Temu is wild, Jake. Yeah, I know. But I mean, at this point, would you be surprised? I mean, hell, no. Let me know when we're doing it on Solana or Bitcoin or one of the, it's an NFT. You have to watch it on like a small screen. I don't know. At this point, it could be on anything. Oh, here's another one. If Gary was in charge. Exclusive viewing party at Five Guys.
That would be great.
Do that. You would do that. Exclusive,
I would definitely.
Right? All
I would
Five
definitely
Guys locations. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can't even watch it at the stadium. They make you go to a Five Guys.
I honestly think the number one thing I would do is give everybody, first of all, I should be able to watch whatever broadcast I want. They should have no control whatsoever of which broadcast I watch. And it does not depend on where I am at all. I should be able to be in the heart of New York City, watch Yes Network, and have no blackout, no issues there. And then I should have full control over which camera angle I want. I should have full control if I want to see the K zone on the screen. I should be able to change all these things. Now, this is not hard, okay? Especially considering where tech is these days. We should be able to do all these things. I should be able to see that little stupid box that I see in the middle of the screen. I should be able to take that away because, to be honest with you, Jake, it takes away from my entire viewing experience. They'll make me go listen to somebody that I don't want to listen to. I've got to mute that guy talking. And then I have to see that like yesterday, we had Little behind the plate who had no idea where the strike zone was. And then I had a floating box sitting there, essentially taunting me of how bad the strike zone was. Why would I want to know where the actual strike zone is if it's not being called there consistently? So if it's not going to be that, then you're just helping me become more frustrated. So yeah, I've got all types of ideas that they could do to make the Yankees broadcast better. And it doesn't have to do with removing anyone off Yes's broadcast. It just has to do with tech. And if you can get me in there, I'll get it done.
Hey, I hear you. I actually like the K zone. I just think we need robo umps. I think that's really the only way to solve that. But you also need a good commissioner. So you can only do so many things at the same time. You can't.
And by the way, Albert Oku, he says, do you guys think the Yankees would be interested in Whit Merrifield or Kevin Kiermaier? Well, actually, okay, as an improvement
they tried to
over
get
JD Davis.
Kevin Kiermaier in the
They
offseason.
did, but we need to be looking for bats, I would say. Whit Merrifield, I don't have a problem with. But as far as Kevin Kiermaier, I think we've kind of filled that role, right? You got a guy who can field the position in center field. Grisham was really good defensively today, so we can't minimize what he did with his glove.
I thought he was really very good.
His bat's terrible. It is just...
Well, no, Kevin Kiermaier's is bad too.
Yeah, they're both bad. Grisham and Kiermaier both can't hit.
Oh, so if I could take anybody from the Rays, I mean, you already know who I'm going with. I'm going with Rosario, who should have signed with the Yankees.
That would be an excellent fit. An excellent fit for us. You can put him at the bottom of the lineup. He doesn't have to lead off or anything. I know he's hitting 320 this year.
I'd probably have him lead off. No joke.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just put him right there. Dude, you can lead off. I can lead off. I mean, when you set the precedent of DJ LeMahieu batting 1-2 and hit like leading off, like
I think Albert Oku could lead off of this team right now. Let's be honest. Albert, no offense. I think all three of us
offensive.
It shouldn't be offensive, but we can all find a way to go out there and hit lead off for this team right now. We need answers. I don't think Kiermaier is one of those answers. I think Merrifield would be fine. Rosario, as Jake put it. There are a few answers. Obviously, Chisholm. So we've mentioned early in the show a few of those fits, but yeah, I'm not gonna go with anybody who's just a glove. I need a bat.
No, I'm with you there. Good answer. Merrifield, I would not rule out. I think they're kind of looking at him like if he doesn't get picked up and the deadline kind of goes not the way they want him, then maybe that they'll scoop him. Tomorrow, Carlos Rodon, Dean Kramer at 11:35 Eastern time. That's 8:35 if you're on Gary's side of the world, which is kind of ridiculous. Kramer gives up a lot of home runs in 59 innings. He's given up 12 home runs. So I think there's a shot of another home run from Aaron Judge. He already set the Yankee, first half of the season record, 34 home runs before the All-Star break, passing, was it Maris? I think it was Maris and himself. They were both tied at 33.
I heard Maris, yeah.
Yeah, Maris and Judge had 33. So Judge passed himself last year. He's got more this year than he had the year he had 62. So, or not last year, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's where we stand. I think tomorrow we do see B-Boss in the lineup. And I think there's a chance that Narvaez also plays because, they love giving Austin Wells random days off. Narvaez is a guy that they really like. He was called up instead of Agustin Ramirez, which I get. He's been in AAA longer than Agustin Ramirez. He's older. They called him up because Jose Trevino went on the 10-day IL. So hopefully he's okay. Obviously, you hate to see that. And yeah, we'll see what ends up happening, but that's going to do it. We appreciate you guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't already. Also, be sure to follow us on all social media down below. And at Yankees Unloaded over there as well. Not just me. Okay, there we go. I can never get this whole camera all over the place thing and whatever.
It's all good. It's flipped.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Later, folks.
And like this video.